What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream where we're back in our Deck Knight project. A game built from scratch, of course, using Unreal Engine 5, C++, blueprints, the gameplay ability system plugin, and all of that good stuff. So today we're actually not going to be working in the engine. Maybe towards the end we'll be working in the engine, but I want to start working on the design of the waves. And be able to kind of, I don't want to say the word architect, but at least plan how I want the wave manager, wave spawner, round manager, whatever the case might be, how that would work. And maybe watch some reference videos and kind of just have a design, chill-oriented stream, not really focus on any kind of coding. Maybe in the last 30 minutes or so we'll do something like that, but for the time being, I kind of want to just focus on the design side. So we have already something here for wave design, but I kind of want to focus a little bit more on the back end system. So I'm going to just kind of copy that, move it over here. And I'll just take out some of this stuff. And maybe it would be called, I guess, round manager is a way to go, because the rounds consist of multiple waves, and there would have to be a wave manager. Not sure exactly how it will work. I'll just call it round wave management system. Monster, hell yeah, sugar-free baby. Down in it like nothing. So round wave management subsystem. I'll just say the word architecture. Fuck it. Yeah, Boo Boo not here. I think Boo Boo outside. I see Boo Boo out on the balcony. Hey Boo Boo. She sees me. I can see her meow. I'll open it up and get Boo Boo in here. Got Boo Boo. So Boo Boo can chill. Boo Boo, Mama's watching. Yay. You want to try to get on the desk, Boo Boo? Or you gotta chill? Yes, your babies. So yeah, let's think about this as generally speaking as we can. So, like, when we say like a wave, a wave consists of multiple spawned actors, right? Like actor 1, actor 2, 3, and X, right? I don't know. My camera's shaky because I think my hands are on my desk. Yeah, because like the desk itself is kind of, oh, there goes Boo Boo jumping on the desk. Maybe that's what it is too. Hey, Boo Boo. Boo Boo did some parkour. You can see how much. Let me see if I can stabilize the camera a bit. That'll help. But like, obviously, yeah, moving it right more will make it shake a little bit, but uh-oh, Boo Boo. Now you can see how much I kiss Boo Boo on stream. Hey, Boo Boo. Okay, Boo Boo, you're sitting on the keyboard now. Hey, Boo Boo. Well, I can't proceed now. I got Boo Boo here. Alright, Boo Boo, you need to leave. Boo Boo, please leave. Boo Boo. Boo Boo, please leave. She is standing her ground. Alright, bye, Boo Boo. So yeah, we got these actors, right? Or enemy 1, enemy 2, things like that. But I think a wave should also consist of potentially like groups. And then so each group has a certain number of whoop. So one wave consists of multiple groups, and the groups can be any kind of mixed bag of like actors, I suppose, or enemies, whatever the case might be. And we kind of have to like feed into or feed back into the wave when an enemy dies. I need this taskbar to either move or, you know, stay on. Taskbar behaviors. Alright, let's not automatically have the taskbar go away so this scales appropriately. Now, we have a connector. Sticky note, so actors register to wave round manager. Wave round manager. What should I say? Wave round manager tracks death of actors in each group. Wave. And the wave manager has to kind of be told what to spawn, you know what I mean? Like, and what it should spawn, it has a couple different factors in it. So let me see if I can. The wave composition. Not a straight arrow, but okay. Oh god. Hey, thanks for the follow. ND001. Much appreciated. Those arrows not being straight is gonna kill me, but oh lord. The OCD is gonna kill me on this. So wave composition could be determined by difficulty. It could be determined by current round. It could be determined by main opponent. So each main opponent that you're actually fighting within these waves, or I wouldn't say within these waves, but the overarching AI that's representing the other main player will have different mechanics and different archetypes and stuff like that. Archetype, structure, synergy. I just don't understand yet how, like, dynamically we would kind of feed into this wave manager what it should be spawning. Because there was also, I think, I don't know if it was a GDC talk or anything like that, but they mentioned there's a system from Left 4 Dead. They called it like a director, I think. And this director management, this manager system was responsible for spawning these waves of zombies. It would kind of know when to spawn more, when to spawn those special types of zombies, and it kind of fed into the player's health and their resources, so that it would create what felt like dynamic moments of either calm or panic. Honestly, like, you can also know how close you are to a safe house, for example, and they might send more waves out to you to kind of build that tension and pressure. So I wonder if we can read a little bit more about that, actually. So Left 4 Dead director AI. Oops. Okay, so it's on the wiki. So the director, sometimes referred to as the AI director or simply AID, is the artificial intelligence of Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 that features a dynamic system for game dramatics, pacing, and difficulty. So, like, I want this wave system to behave like that in some way. Let me link this documentation here. Oh, cool. It's a white background, so that's going to blend well. So instead of set spawn points for enemies, the director places enemies in various positions and numbers based upon each player's current situation, status, skill, and location, creating a new experience for each playthrough. The director also creates mood and tension with emotional cues such as visual effects, dynamic music, and character communication. I don't know how much we want to feed into that too much, but still, kind of interesting to know. Sorry, I was checking work stuff. Sorry. Oh, it should be noted that there's another director in the game which controls the music on a per player scale. That's all the multiplayer stuff. So, yeah, this is what I kind of want to know. Enemy spawning. So the director's most immediately obvious influence is of the spawning and managing of infected. In general, the infected are spawned out of sight from the survivors and are despawned after the survivors move out of range. Although there are exceptions, the director categorizes enemies as wanderers, mobs, specials, and bosses. So I think I have to have some sort of characterization. So, wave composition, so architecture, structure, synergy. That's what we kind of want to label as categorizations, I suppose. Hey, thanks for the subscription there, Sammy Cyclops. How you doing? Thanks for popping and watching. Check this out. So I guess I want to not replace archetype and structure, but maybe just put myself another sticky note and just say, enemy categorizations, mobs, bosses, uniques, etc. So another part of the design there would need to be figuring that out, wave composition and stuff like that. And like how can I make that dynamic? It's a good question. So mobs, special bosses, wanderers. I think as wanderers just kind of chill and do nothing, unless provoked, maybe. So common infected. The director divides comments into two types: wanderers and mobs. Wanderers are independent comments spawned in front of the survivors, with the highest concentration being on the main path. Okay, but with decent amounts placed in side routes and in unreachable locations known as background wanderers. These commons will wander, as per the name, and will rush towards and attack the survivors in a blind rage upon noticing them. Okay, so those are wanderers. I would have thought that would be mobs, but... Oh, are they like individuals, maybe? Because then mobs or hordes, on the other hand, are usually spawned to the side or behind the survivors. Mobs consist of 10 to 30 commons, goddamn, and generally spawn in intervals of 1 to 4 minutes, varying with difficulty. In certain instances, the director will be unable to find a suitable spot to spawn a mob, granting the survivors momentary reprieve from the horde. However, the director will continue to queue mob infected until the survivors leave the spot, effectively punishing them with a larger mob. Unlike wanderers, mobs will immediately hunt down the survivors spawning. Okay, a maximum of 30 commons can be spawned by the director at any one time. A higher number of commons may exist on the map, but the director will not spawn any more until their number is 0. Okay. That's something to keep into consideration as well. Because this is like keeping track of stuff. Maybe I can... Oh my god. Max number of enemies of each categorization at one time. Special infected, so those are the things like the smoker and I guess the witch, things like that. Special infected spawn in different types of location. Well, there is also boss infected, so maybe that means like tank, or maybe I'm thinking of boss infected. Okay, so it is saying witch and tank. Okay, how about I just read and I'll see what they're talking about. So, for example, boomers are spawned. So those are the ones that explode in campaign mode. The director will kill off any special infected that are too far from the survivors. This can be done by turning full captions, blah, blah, blah. And then you got boss infected, are handled very differently by the director throughout each map. There are a select number of threat locations determined by the map maker, where the director will spawn a tank or a witch. These threat areas are normally on the main path and are always the same, no matter how many times you go through a map. Tanks and witches are going to spawn in these areas. Okay, that's not something we really need to care about. Boop, boop, boop. And then events and finales. Many map events will change the rules of infected spawning, especially finales. They can change the limit and rate of special infected spawning, the rate and size of mobs, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. So there's item spawning. So I don't know if I care about item spawning. I don't know if I'm gonna have any sort of drops. I think that would be sort of interesting to have some items that, but I don't want the items to take away from the use of cards. I think that they should like feed into the card system. So if there are going to be items, maybe there could be like dynamic drops of like card items, so you pick it up and you can immediately play that card, or it gets added immediately into your hand. Maybe you could pick up, you know, active card resource from the world that get randomly thrown in. Maybe we could just think about that and just have it in our Figma board here. I'm also wondering how this I wonder if I should be using state tree for this like system. So when it's in like it's like, I don't know, a few different states or something, and it'll know what to kind of spawn based on the state. I'm not too sure. It's my first time kind of thinking about a wave management system, so my mind is going to a couple different places. Oh yeah, item spawning. We can kind of figure that out later. So dynamic maps, a feature only implemented in Left 4 Dead 2. Dynamic map design allows the director to measure how well the survivors are doing and change the map accordingly. So it can change like path tweaks and objects. That's kind of interesting. That it can change like pathing. Like you can create new location, not location, but maybe. Ooh, no. The kitty is getting very excited. Lola, no. Boo Boo, no. Come on, Boo Boo. No, up here, up here. Boo Boo, up here. Lola. I just know she's gonna make Boo Boo. Okay. So yeah, dynamic maps, cool. Director phases. While playing through a map, the director goes through a number of phases relating to the state of the survivors. This adds an ebb and flow dynamic to the game, allowing the survivors to recover after a nasty incident or meet heavy resistance when rapidly progressing through. And then there's build up, peak, and relax, survivor intensity. Sorry. So the director constantly measures how much pressure each individual survivor is under by monitoring their intensity. A survivor's intensity increases when attacked by an infected, and by killing infected that are close by. Survivors will immediately reach maximum intensity when incapacitated. That's also interesting. Survivors will not gain intensity through friendly fire or when sniping infected. Quieting the director. In certain instances, the director, for all intents and purposes, is turned off. During this time, no common or special hits may spawn. Okay, difficulty in game modes. First modes, reading the AI director. With a bit of practice, it's possible to anticipate moves by the director. That kind of adds a little interesting meta to that. To listen to music cues. You can expect it to take it easy after some nasty attacks. Despawns. There's console commands. That's interesting. Okay. What else can we learn about this? Like, so mob management systems and games. Mob management systems and games. Yeah, it was Left 4 Dead. They have this AI director system that will like dynamically adjust difficulty and stuff based off performance and based on where you are in the level, and just to give you those feelings of calm and peak intensity and stuff like that. So we're just doing a little bit of research about wave management systems, mob management systems, in that case AI director, because that's going to be the next system that we're going to try to design. And we'll see how it will work. It's going to be something that's going to constantly evolve, but still. So mob management systems and games refers to managing large groups of enemies, blah, 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 where it involves mechanics like aggro, hate, blah, 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 blah. Alternatively, the term can refer to managing crime. Okay, that's fine. So managing enemy mobs, there's common. So World of Warcraft, Empire of Sin, mob control. There's a GitHub repository. Create a swarm mob flock system for managing large amounts of entities. So in some situations, this could be too much when dealing very large amount of objects. Yeah, eventually we're gonna have to figure out something to do with like pooling systems and stuff like that too. Maybe I should write that down. Probably. I wonder that. I guess that's a question to ask as well. So, can you pool actors and then change their class at runtime? Runtime? So no, you cannot directly change the existing actor's class at runtime. Instead, you must pool actors of a base class and dynamically spawn a new actor of the desired class, then transfer relevant data and destroy the old actor. You can also add or remove components. Because like the question I have in my head is like, say I just have a base class of, NPC character. Can I spawn 100 of those base characters, and then when I need them, turn them on and kind of switch which one they are. So this one's like the dummy character, this one's some like ranged character, and kind of switch them on that way. Yeah, I was thinking subsystem as well. I've been learning more and more about subsystems. I'm just kind of curious because I know state tree is pretty popular for AI driven stuff, but I don't know if I should use state tree at all, or if it should just be solely directed within a subsystem where, yeah, it pulls in information about the current round or the current situation, composes the wave, and then spawns them in the appropriate location, and then listens back for death events. So yeah, most likely that's what I would want to do. But again, I don't know how to spawn. Like, I know how to spawn an actor, right? I just don't know how to flip them into the specific archetype that we need to have active, So spawn and replace. Pool actors. Create a pool of actors that are all derived from a common base class. Identify desired change. Determine when an actor needs to change its behavior or class. Like a basic enemy becomes an armored enemy. Spawn at the same location with the same orientation as the actor. Be replaced. Spawn a new actor. But I don't want to spawn a new actor. Like, would I need to be able to just have like a bare bones NPC class, and then when I tell it to activate, I have to pass in data that composes that actor? So just for the sake of example in the engine, let me just make this a little bit bigger. I had this dummy character, right? BP underscore dummy NPC. And it derives from a thing called BP NPC base, right? And BP NPC base is empty, but it has the components that you'd expect, right? Ability system component, character movement component, health, like some of these like health and stuff. I don't know if that needs to be a component, but whatever. But it has a mesh caps component, targeting component, blah 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 blah, right? So like in theory, can I spawn 100 of these, and then there's some base function in this class that tells it, okay, construct the dummy or something like that. But yeah, but the question is then, love the name, but USB 4 if I master. If the question is, how do I change its archetype after it's been spawned? Or are we saying that I can spawn, 20 archers, 20 knights, whatever, and then pull from them as I need? Or can I say, spawn 50 of these guys? Okay, the wave manager says I need 5 archers, I need 2 wizards, or whatever. Like, how do I then, without spawning new actors, take them and turn them into that kind of class? So yeah, with data assets. So I would need a data asset that has a skeletal mesh with its animation class. Like, I would just have to kind of construct a lot of stuff within the data asset, and maybe that could work. It's just going to be a huge data asset. It would be good to make sure, like, as much as possible, keep default settings in these components, So mesh is a big one. Also, because the enemies will be using state tree, so I would need to kind of get the controller. Yeah, we could try that. Someone on Reddit asked this question. Okay, I say the transfer of the data, you would just set all variables in the actor with get variables. Blah. Go with gameplay tags, gas stuff, okay. Dynamically add and remove components. You want to see, for example, what it looks like. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate the insight a little bit there. Enjoy your lunch. Well, sorry. I hope you had a good lunch. Back to work, I suppose. Take care. So with stat FPS, we're getting, not that much. Roughly like 100. I just want to see what happens if I spawn 50. 50 of the base NPC class, right? I said this could be done in Blueprint, so there's going to be no problem. Let's see. So I'm going to stick with spacebar, right? I'm going to just do a loop. Say 0 to 49. Each, I'm just, like, obviously this is not how it's going to work in the real world. Like, it will have to be part of, like, the level or world system where when you enter these, like, the combat sections, we would spawn these independently. So there's not, I know in C++ there's an async spawn, but not in Blueprints, I don't think so. So I'm gonna just spawn them at 0, 0, 0. Always spawn, doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna say NPC base. I could also just do gas NPC base. We could just print aim. Also make them not. Well, let's just see how much, how many it takes till we start getting really shitty performance. Assuming it's gonna drop like crazy on the first one. So I'm gonna press spacebar. Okay, we spawned 50. Spawned another 50. So it drops significantly at that moment. But you know, we have 200 of these characters in the world at 000. But performance is not really changed. That's cool. So when someone did ask that, so replacing the current actor at runtime with another actor via HUD. Let's ask good old ChatGPT here. Let's see if my question prompt is accurate. So in UE5 C++, you cannot spawn a base class and then convert it into a child class at runtime. Well, we know that. Okay, so what can you do? Spawn the child class directly at runtime? Well, I don't want to do that. Spawn a base class that acts like a factory or a wrapper. This is kind of what we're talking about. You must always spawn the base class, but 110 flexibility. The base can internally spawn or attach the correct child. And that's not really what I want. So make your base actor a container that can add different components at runtime. I mean, I'm trying to think what would need to be unique. What's the wording here? So you cannot reclass an existing actor at runtime once an actor is spawned as a base actor. So you can absolutely use a UData asset or primary data asset to drive which subclass to spawn and how to configure it. The trick is instead of trying to convert the base class, you use the base class as a factory that looks up the right subclass and archetype and spawns configures it. Again, it's like what it's really what I want. Like, I wonder how this could possibly work. What if I change this from that? I'm going to spawn a bunch of dummies. See what happens. Yeah, so spawning 50 of these guys. I'm at now 30 FPS. That's kind of wild. And then if I do 50 more, I'm at like 4 FPS. That's kind of nasty. So I wonder... what part of this is eating up the most. Because I even tell it to not tick. So is it the skeletal mesh? Let me just clear the skeletal mesh in the animation. Animation class and blueprint and everything. And let's spawn the test one. So there's still a good amount of performance loss. Now I'm at 60. Now is it the state tree? So let me take out the controller. Yeah, definitely significantly less issue. There's still some problems here. So I wonder, like, how realistically, how many... let's put back our normal dummy NPC. And let's just do one at a time. I wonder if it's an issue because they're colliding into each other. Definitely feels like it's definitely like the spawning of them that's a big one. But yeah, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now they're all doing shit. So it's a good amount of enemies. And they're not even moving or animating, really. So that's going to be a problem. And, you know, I can start trying to hit shit. You know, we're seeing stuff kind of go down. So it seems like it's going to be a pretty big headache here. Let's see what we can learn about. I know I'm getting kind of sidetracked, but I kind of want to learn more about how to make sure we spawn stuff. So spawn time optimizations, they're saying object pooling, so obviously we know that. Defer construction. Blah, blah, blah. So this is about the actual spawning of them, and we'll have some control over that. We know that much. AI behavior optimizations, use simple controllers, avoid expensive AI per pawn. Running simplified logic, EQS only for squad leaders, not every grunt. Turning off tick when NPCs are idle or far away. LOD for AI. limit perception. Yeah, maybe they don't need perception, like, because they should just know where the player is at all times. We're not having that kind of game where you can hide and sneak around and stuff like that, so that's good to know. Rendering optimizations, animation budgeting. Enable animation budget allocator. HLOD instancing, pull, ticks, and components. Just kind of have to figure out. Centralized AI, maybe animation budget allocator. Where is this? Because obviously, well, I guess there's technically some animation happening here. Let's see if we can get more information on that. So the animation budget allocator is a plugin you can use in Unreal Engine to shrink the computation time allotted for animation data running on specified skeletal meshes. You can use the animation budget allocator to reduce the cost of many animating characters by setting a processing budget. Then the budget allocator will dynamically throttle. Okay. Interesting. Let's go. Let's see if we can find that. Is it enabled by default? Yeah, budget allocator. Turn it on. Let's restart. So prerequisites. Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's on the mesh. And then we see budgeted. Okay, so great. Let's let this do its thing real quick. So in the budgeting section, auto calculate significance and ensure auto attrition, blah blah blah. So create and connect it, enable animation budget node to event period of the character's blueprint event graph and check. So I have to add it there? That's interesting. That. Platform scale it. Okay. Interesting. But also someone on Reddit. So not sure if it's a solution exists, but I'd appreciate any tip, including not possible in current state. I want to put 800 enemies at the character type in editor and had around 17 FPS. Checks out. First, I tried playing with LOD for skeleton plus mesh, deactivating shadows. Yeah, so the main issue is the character movement component. Maybe using mover is better. I mean, is there a way to... Right, dumb question, UE5. How to optimize CMC? More Reddit. Okay. Mass entity. Skeletal mesh, CMC. What's that? Character move component. Max simulation time step iterations. I tried to minimize as many components as I can have as few child components attached to it as I can. Logical LODing. Let's add this to my Figma. Let's see. Leveraging NPC Optimizer and Smart AI to supercharge your game's performance. In the ceaseless quest for smoother, more dynamic game experiences, the fusion of NPC Optimizer, Smart with AI, emerge a savvy solution. Initial benchmarking yielding 61 FPS. Baseline with our 60 soldiers in situation. Upon using the range soldier blueprint with the NPC optimized and replaying the levels sands for the streaks, the FPS modestly ascended to 66. So they gained 5 FPS there. But wait, there's more to this unseemingly minor uplift. Although the aforementioned FPS increases seems trivial, the real potency of the NPC optimizer materializes when the AI can include the player's view. Okay. What is this? So USMP with NPC optimizer and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's NPC Optimizer Automatic. Enable the plugin. Launch your project, proceed to the plugin section, restart the engine. And it adds this NPC optimization. Is this free? I'm kind of curious now. Let's see. Plugins. Oh, well, it's not going to be here, right? NPC. Gameplay interactions, interesting, but yeah, no, I need to go to the marketplace. Bam. Add the NPC optimizer component. Oof. That's expensive. $95 ratings. 4.5. There's documentation. So up to 6 times faster on average out of the box, fully written C++. How it is work. So shadows are turned off, animation ticks. There's simplified second wave optimization. Interesting. Someone mentioned here max simulation step. Hey, boo-boo. Does it for you? Does it do it for you? How much? It's 1,500 zloty, which is like $400 or something. I'm not buying. I want to see what I can do on my own. So we can have like a test bed for like optimization stuff too. So we can always. Is this skill test? No. Force delete. We can keep a duplicate here, and we'll say test underscore, and we'll do CMC. We can use this one as like a test to see what performance gain we get on average by just adjusting the CMC. And we'll do a loop of 10, just the start. We play our game, we spawn 10. We still have 80 frames per second. And, you know, they're not all visible on the screen. Maybe I could just do them one at a time again. It just worked with like 10, you know? Just go bam, 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 bam. So here I'm running about like 70. Well, at some points it's 90. But this is also an editor, so we take that with a grain of salt. Also, I have a pretty good PC. We gotta take that with a grain of salt. So that's the dummy test CMC, right? We can go into the character movement component. We could try some stuff. So they're talking about max simulation step, time step. And what does this do? Max time delta for each discrete simulation step, used primarily in the more advanced movement modes that break up larger time steps. So 0.05. So if I make that, let's just make it 1. Okay, the highest is 0.5, right? So let's actually be smart about this. Let's do stat unit graph. We have everything open, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we can maybe do snapshot. Where's this thing? So we're chilling at around 90. So if I make this 0.5, do we see any change? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. So frame time. Seems worse. Somehow. Also max simulation iterations. So 0.05. And I guess for the sake to make sure, let's just not give it a controller for the moment, just to make sure nothing else gets spawned at the moment. Like, so he's not shooting me with shit, you know what I mean? So max number of iterations used for each discrete simulation step, used primarily in the more advanced movement modes. So if max simulation step plus max simulation iterations is too low for the max frame rate, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's cut this in half. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think they fell. So I'm gonna spawn these guys 100 units above the ground. Watch Truth or Tips this morning. Quality content. Thanks, Belt. Much appreciated. The fact that they're not spawning. Concerning. Now, yeah, probably way too high. Now I put it at 5,000. So is it the simulation step that's fucking that up? Maybe? Let's put this back at 8. I just want to see if they fall. So they don't really have gravity. Interesting. Why don't they fall? Do the other dummy characters fall? These guys. What did I change? Is it the fact that I don't have an AI controller that they're not falling? That would be wacky as fuck. Excuse me? Why is the fact that they don't have a controller make them not have gravity? Let's just assume. Let's just assume that's fine, right? So we're spawning what? Yeah, test CMC again. So again, let's find iterations. Let's try again a half. Feels like nothing is really making a difference here. If I make it at full 25, because they're not moving, that we're not really seeing a difference. Maybe. Okay. Let's just quickly look at the animation budget again. Because obviously these guys aren't animating much. So what do I got? I got to change the component to the budgeted. Not sure which way is forward here. This way. Seems fine. Like, but with the budgeted class, yeah, you have the animation blueprint. Auto register with budget allocator. Auto calculate significance, and then I get to enable budget. So that begin play, budget, enable animation budget, enabled. You would see if they look okay. Like, are you still doing shit? You're animating. Look at all of them. That seems like it made a difference. Like on average, only a couple milliseconds, I'd say. Still something. If they still animate when I smack them? Yeah. Maybe worth it, I'm not sure. And then you also have ways to, like, I know there's like rendering settings as well. Like, do I have Lumen enabled? Like, do I need dynamic global illumination? Probably not. Let's see if I say none. I don't know what that's going to do to my performance. Huh? That gave me some performance back, actually. I'm going to be real. But, you know, you can see, like, the shadows and stuff aren't great. Green space. Meh. I know there's like other rendering things, right? Deferred shading. There's forward shading. You can see what that looks like. It looks okay. Maybe we can leave that. Stuff state tree. Yeah, rendering. Occlusion culling, texture streaming, virtual textures. Lumen, reflection capture resolution. So direct light, mega lights, I don't really give a shit about. Ray trace shadows, no. Shadow maps. I'm not going to be using nanite, so I don't need virtual shadow maps or anything. Support hardware tracing. That's going to do to me. Tracing. Probably not needed. I'm just... what am I trying to achieve? I have no idea. I'm just playing around with settings. And God, I don't cause too many problems. Luckily, I'm using Perforce and everything. But whatever I just did, it's compiling all the shaders again, and there's like 14,000 of them. That for sure was a mistake. So we'll see what happens after these shaders recompile. Or I'm getting sidetracked to stuff from work. My bad. Okay, so we're halfway there. Yeah, I just maybe I should also update the 5.7 because I know there were some optimizations there, but like what my where this is stemming from really is I want to be able to spawn a good amount of enemies and kind of try to maintain performance. And a lot of the issues stem from what I'm researching here, the character movement component. That's doing quite a lot. But then, I know stage trees are going to be pretty heavy. I would like to see, like, on average, like, I definitely need to play Hades and Hades 2 just to see how their combat feels, Is this your personal project or you are indie dev? This is my personal project. This is a learning project, but something I'm trying to, see how far I can take. So we'll just kind of have to see where life takes us. So I made that big mistake of changing settings and seeing this shader compiler stuff happens. So budget allocator, whatever, we enabled it. We can come back to that another time. But yeah, it all stemmed from figuring out how we want to do our wave manager and our round manager, mob manager, director, whatever we kind of want to call it. And games like Left 4 Dead have like a huge amount of enemies on screen. Other games, not so much, obviously. When you have games like I forget the Lost in Random, like each room has a certain number of enemies. It never gets crazy. Maybe we could do some research there. Like, see how it is in Hades. So in each room contains 1 to 3 waves of enemies. Yeah, a swarm system. Not really a swarm system, because I don't want it to be strictly just mobs and stuff. Like, I want these waves and these number of enemies and encounters to match things like Hades and what's that new game coming out? Morbid Metal and things like that. I just want to see how many kinds of enemies I'm gonna have in any kind of given encounter. Maybe I'm overthinking it at the moment. We'd kind of have to see. But maybe I'm diving too much into optimization at the moment to really care. All right, moment of truth. If I broke shit, let's see. Look, compile shaders and shit. But also, I gotta keep in mind it's not cook build editor, but I want to make sure editor is playable, you know. So far, no difference in quality, at least. Now, see, this is just a default arena map. So let's let everything load. Yeah, I don't want to pay technical debt. But yeah, like, yeah, I think I always focus on the wrong things, you know. But maybe I should not give a shit at the moment. Like, there has to be some care in performance on some level, you know. Let's just stat FPS again. No change in FPS, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah blah blah. So there was no real change. I'll have to do targeting a little bit better, I think, at some point too. The things I have to account for later is like particle effects and yeah. Okay, I think I wasted enough time today. Let me just connect to my perf course and undo everything I did in the default engine INI, I think. And then we'll come back to the wave manager next time. Do a diff. Well, this is actually important stuff. Let me just make sure I undo what I did. Maybe it's writable and I need to clean it up. So connect to the version control. Check out file. Go. Now we can do it. Force. Okay, we did a bunch. Yeah, those didn't really change anything for us. Yeah, what you're saying there, PL, is kind of what we were thinking about too, where we, like, our spawn manager would always spawn, like, the base class that's empty, and then, you know, on each frame or each tick add what it needs on top of it. So the visuals of the mesh, turning on its AI controller, whatever it needs to kind of happen. So basically doing, like, object pooling, just spawning a bunch of these empty classes when we're loading, like, around or something, or when we're just loading the game or something, storing that, and then the wave manager will be responsible for saying, okay, spawn, well, not spawn, but at this point, like, convert these characters into, you know, ranged enemies with this data type, you know, and it would construct it at runtime then to say, okay, your skeletal mesh component is this mesh, your animation blueprint is this animation blueprint, blah, blah, blah. But spawning is one thing, but then at runtime, on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. For those watching on Twitch, make sure to follow. And for those else watching, make sure to join our Discord. You know, it's a relatively quiet Discord, but sometimes we get little nuggets of information and gold there, so anything would be appreciated. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your life. And have a good night. See you soon.